I don't even know where to start. I'm sitting in a hotel room right now at 2 a.m., shaking as I type this. My hands won't stop trembling. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, my wife. It's all bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. My name is Jake, and I've been married to my wife Sarah for 8 years. We've been together for 11. We have 2 kids, Emma, 6, and Noah, 4. Until 3 days ago, I thought we had the perfect marriage. I thought I was the luckiest guy in the world. I was so fucking stupid. Let me back up. Sarah and I met in college. She was this bubbly, outgoing girl who seemed to light up every room she walked into. I was the quiet, nerdy guy who somehow managed to catch her attention at a campus party. We clicked immediately. She made me feel special, like I was the only person in the world who mattered to her. We got married 2 years after graduation, bought a house in the suburbs, had kids. The American dream, right? For the past year, things have been different. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something felt off. Sarah started working longer hours at her marketing firm. She'd come home late, sometimes after the kids were already asleep. She was always on her phone, texting and smiling at the screen. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd say it was just work stuff or her friend Jessica. She became more irritable too. Little things would set her off. If I forgot to pick up milk on the way home, she'd snap at me like I'd committed some cardinal sin. If I suggested we spend a weekend together as a family, she'd say she was too tired or had too much work to catch up on. Our sex life, which used to be pretty active, dropped to maybe once every few weeks. And even then, she seemed distracted, like she was somewhere else entirely. I tried talking to her about it multiple times. Every time, she'd get defensive and turn it around on me. She'd say I was being paranoid, that I was smothering her, that she just needed space to focus on her career. She made me feel like I was the problem, like I was some clingy, insecure husband who couldn't handle his wife being successful. So I backed off. I gave her space. I tried to be the supportive husband, taking care of the kids more, doing extra housework, not complaining when she'd come home at 10 p.m. smelling like wine and expensive cologne. Yeah, I noticed the cologne. But when I mentioned it, she said they'd had a client dinner and her colleague Brad had hugged her goodbye. Brad. I should have known right then. About 3 months ago, Sarah started going on more business trips. She'd never traveled much for work before, but suddenly she was going to conferences in Miami, client meetings in Chicago, training sessions in Denver. She'd be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time. I'd be left home with the kids, managing their school schedules, their activities, bedtime routines. I was exhausted, but I told myself this was temporary. That once she got this big promotion she was working toward, things would go back to normal. The kids started noticing too. Emma asked me one night why Mommy was always working. She said Mommy didn't play with them anymore. That broke my heart. I brought it up to Sarah, gently, saying maybe she could cut back a bit, spend more time with Emma and Noah. She exploded. She said I was guilt-tripping her, that I didn't understand the pressure she was under, that someone had to advance their career to give our kids a good life. She said I was content being a middle manager nobody, but she had ambition. That hurt like hell. 2 weeks ago, something happened that should have been my first real clue. We were at a neighborhood barbecue, and Sarah's phone kept buzzing. She kept excusing herself to check it, always walking away where I couldn't see the screen. At one point, our neighbor Mark made a joke about her being glued to her phone, and Sarah's face went completely white. She laughed it off, but I saw panic in her eyes for just a second. That night, after we got home and put the kids to bed, I asked her about it. She said it was just a work crisis, that a client was being demanding. I said I wanted to help, asked if there was anything I could do. She looked at me with this cold expression I'd never seen before and said, "You couldn't help even if you tried, Jake. This is above your pay grade. I should mention that I'm not some pushover. I'm a project manager at a tech company. I make decent money. I'm in good shape. I'm involved with my kids." But Sarah had this way of making me feel small, inadequate, like I was lucky she even stayed with me. Looking back now, I realized she was gaslighting me for months. Every time I questioned something, she'd make me feel crazy for even thinking it. The discovery happened 3 days ago. It was completely by accident, which I guess is how these things usually go. Sarah had left for another business trip to Austin. She'd be gone until Friday. It was Tuesday morning, and I was getting the kids ready for school when Emma said she couldn't find her iPad. She said she'd last seen it in Mommy and Daddy's room. I went upstairs to look for it, and found it tucked between Sarah's side of the bed and the nightstand. As I picked it up, Sarah's laptop was sitting on the nightstand, still open. She must have forgotten to close it in her rush to catch her flight. The screen was asleep, but when I bumped the table, it woke up. I wasn't trying to snoop. I swear I wasn't. But the screen that popped up was her email, and the preview pane was showing a message that made my blood run cold. The subject line read, "Can't wait to have you in my bed again." The sender was Brad Mitchell. My heart started pounding. My vision got blurry. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe it was spam that got through. Maybe it was a joke between coworkers. But my hands were already moving, clicking on the email before my brain could stop them. The email was from 3 days ago. It read, "Sarah, these past 6 months with you have been incredible. I know you're nervous about the weekend trip, but your husband is clueless. He has no idea. We have the hotel room booked, the champagne on ice. I'm going to make you forget you ever had a marriage. See you in Austin, my love. B." I couldn't breathe. The room started spinning. I sat down on the bed, still holding the iPad in one hand, staring at the laptop screen. This couldn't be real. I sat there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. My whole body felt numb. This was Brad from her office. Brad who she'd mentioned casually over the years. Brad who was at the company Christmas party with his wife. Brad who'd sent my wife flowers last year for closing a big deal, which Sarah said was just a professional gesture. 6 months. The email said 6 months. I did the math in my head. That was right around when everything changed. When she started coming home late. When she became distant. When she started all these business trips. It all made sense now. Every lie, every excuse, every time she made me feel crazy for questioning her. I scrolled through her inbox with shaking hands. There were dozens of emails from Brad. Hundreds, maybe. I clicked on another one from 2 months ago. He was talking about how amazing their weekend in Miami was, how he couldn't stop thinking about her body, how leaving her on Sunday morning was the hardest thing he'd ever done. Miami. The conference she went to in October. She'd come home with a tan and a designer handbag she said was on sale. Another email from a month ago, Brad saying his wife was getting suspicious, that they needed to be more careful. His wife. Jesus Christ, he was married too. With kids. I'd met them at that Christmas party. She seemed nice. Did she know? Was I the only idiot in the dark? I found text message screenshots Sarah had sent to him from her personal phone. In one, she was complaining about me. She said I was boring in bed, that I'd let myself go, that she felt trapped playing housewife to someone with no ambition. She said being with Brad made her feel alive again. That hurt worse than anything. Not just the cheating, but knowing she'd talked about me like that, mocked our marriage, our life together. There were photos too. I'm not going to describe them in detail, but they left nothing to the imagination. Pictures she'd sent him, pictures he'd sent her. Hotel room selfies. I felt sick. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. After I pulled myself together, I went back to the laptop. I needed to know everything. Every detail, every lie, every moment of this betrayal. I copied every email, every photo, everything onto a USB drive. I don't know why. Evidence, I guess. Proof that I wasn't crazy, that this was real. Emma called up the stairs asking if I'd found her iPad. I'd completely forgotten about the kids. I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and went downstairs. I handed Emma her iPad, made them breakfast, got them dressed, and drove them to school. I was on autopilot. The whole time, my mind was replaying those emails, those photos, those words Sarah had written about me. After I dropped the kids off, I just drove. I didn't know where I was going. I ended up at a coffee shop across town where nobody knew me. I sat in my car in the parking lot and called my brother Matt. He answered on the third ring. "Hey man, what's up?" he said cheerfully. I couldn't speak. My throat was closed up. I just sat there holding the phone. "Jake? You there? Everything okay?" His voice changed, concerned now. "Sarah's cheating on me." I finally managed to say. My voice didn't sound like mine. "She's been cheating on me for 6 months with a guy from work. She's with him right now. In Austin. She lied about the business trip. She's with him." The words tumbled out. I told him everything. The emails, the photos, the things she'd said about me. Matt was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "I'm coming over. Don't do anything stupid. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He showed up in 15. We sat in my car, and he read through some of the emails on my phone where I'd forwarded them to myself. He got angrier with each one he read. "That manipulative piece of garbage," he said. Jake, I'm so sorry. This is, this is beyond messed up. What do I do? I asked him. I genuinely didn't know. My whole world had collapsed in the span of an hour. First, you call a lawyer, Matt said. Today, right now, you document everything. You protect yourself and those kids. Matt helped me find a divorce attorney. He called a guy he knew from college who specialized in family law. The lawyer, David Chun, agreed to meet me that afternoon. I went home, printed out the most damning emails, and drove to his office in a daze. David was straightforward and compassionate. He looked through the evidence and nodded. This is pretty clear-cut infidelity, he said. In terms of divorce proceedings, this will help your case, especially if there's been any dissipation of marital assets. Did she spend money on this affair? I thought about all those business trips, the designer clothes she'd been buying, the expensive dinners she claimed were with clients. Probably thousands, I said. Good. We can use that. Now, I need you to not confront her yet, David said. I know that's going to be hard, but we need to get our ducks in a row first. Financial records, asset documentation, everything. Can you do that? I nodded, though every fiber of my being wanted to call Sarah right then and scream at her. Also, download bank statements, credit card bills, any shared accounts. Make copies of everything. Do you have access to her phone records? David asked. Probably through our phone plan, I said. Get those too. The more evidence we have, the better position you'll be in. I spent the rest of that day gathering documents. Bank statements showed charges at expensive hotels on the same dates as her business trips. Restaurants I'd never heard of. A charge at Victoria's Secret for $300 on a day. She told me she was working late. She never wore anything like that for me anymore. The kids came home from school, and I had to pretend everything was normal. I helped Emma with her homework. I played dinosaurs with Noah. I made them dinner, gave them baths, read them bedtime stories. The whole time I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body. Sarah called that night around 9 p.m. Her face popped up on my phone, and I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Hey babe, she said, her voice casual. Just calling to say goodnight to the kids. They're already asleep, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Oh, well, how was their day? Fine. Emma got an A on her spelling test. That's great, Sarah said. There was noise in the background, music, people talking. Listen, I'm at a dinner with clients right now. I should go. I'll call tomorrow, okay? Sure, I said. Have fun with your clients. There was a pause. You okay, Jake? You sound weird. I'm fine. Just tired. Okay, well, get some rest. Love you. The words came out automatically, meaningless. Yeah, I said and hung up. I couldn't say it back. I couldn't form those words. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I kept thinking about all the times she'd lied to my face. All the times she'd kissed me goodbye before a business trip, knowing she was going to be with him. All the times she'd come home and hugged our kids with the same hands that had touched him hours before. The betrayal felt physical, like something rotting inside my chest. The next 2 days were torture. I went through the motions with the kids, but inside I was dying. Matt checked on me constantly. My lawyer was building the case. And Sarah kept calling every evening, telling me about her fake conference, her fake meetings, her fake professional development. On Thursday night, she called and said, I'm extending the trip by a day. There's a really important client meeting on Friday, and I need to be here for it. One more night with him. One more night of lying. Okay, I said flatly. Jake, seriously, what's wrong with you this week? You've been acting strange. The audacity. The sheer audacity of her asking me what was wrong. I'm fine, Sarah. Enjoy your meeting. She came home Friday evening. I was in the kitchen making dinner for the kids when I heard her car in the driveway. My heart started pounding. I wasn't supposed to confront her yet, David had said, but seeing her walk through that door, dragging her suitcase, smiling like she hadn't just spent 4 days betraying our family, something in me snapped. The kids ran to her, screaming, Mommy. She hugged them, kissed their heads, asked them about their week. She looked refreshed, happy, glowing, even, because she'd just spent 4 days with her lover. After the kids went back to watching TV, Sarah came into the kitchen. She tried to kiss me on the lips, but I turned my head so she got my cheek instead. She frowned. What was that? She asked. Not now, I said, stirring pasta with more force than necessary. Jake, what the hell is going on with you? You've been cold all week and now you won't even kiss me? I turned to look at her. Really look at her. This woman I'd loved for 11 years, who I'd built a life with, who was the mother of my children. And I felt nothing. Just cold, empty nothing. How was Austin? I asked. It was fine. Productive. Why? How was the conference? Learn anything good? She narrowed her eyes. Yeah, actually. Some really useful marketing strategies. Why are you asking like that? And how was Brad? I watched her face carefully. She went pale. For just a second, I saw pure panic in her eyes. Then she recovered, forced a confused expression. Brad Mitchell? He wasn't there. Why would he be in Austin? The lie came so easily to her. So naturally. Really? That's interesting. Because his email said he couldn't wait to have you in his bed again. The color drained completely from her face. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. What are you? How did you? I found your emails, Sarah. All of them. 6 months worth. The photos too. My voice was eerily calm. She started shaking her head. Jake, I can explain. It's not what you think. Oh, what is it then? Because the emails were pretty explicit. I'm going to make you forget you ever had a marriage. That was his exact words. So please, explain to me what I'm misunderstanding. Sarah's face went through several expressions. Panic, guilt, anger, then calculation. I watched her decide how to play this. She went with defensive anger. You went through my private emails, she said, her voice rising. You invaded my privacy? What gives you the right? What gives me the right? I cut her off, my voice getting louder. I'm your husband. We have 2 kids. You've been screwing your coworker for 6 months, and you're mad that I found out. Keep your voice down, she hissed, glancing toward the living room where the kids were. They'll hear you. Oh, now you care about the kids? You didn't care about them when you were in Miami with Brad. Or Chicago. Or Denver. Or Austin. How many business trips were real, Sarah? Any of them? She crossed her arms, her jaw set. You don't understand. You don't understand what it's like. Then explain it to me. Make me understand how you justify this. I was shaking now, adrenaline and rage finally breaking through the numbness. Our marriage has been dead for years, Jake. You stopped trying. You got comfortable. You stopped seeing me as a woman and started seeing me as just a mother and a wife. When was the last time you took me on a date? When was the last time you made me feel desired? Her voice was sharp, accusatory. I stared at her in disbelief. So this is my fault. You cheated because I didn't take you on enough dates? I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying you stopped putting in effort. Brad makes me feel special. He sees me. He values me. Brad is married with 2 kids. And you complained to him about me. I read those messages. You said I was boring in bed, that I had no ambition, that you felt trapped. You mocked our marriage to your affair partner. She flinched. I was venting. I didn't mean. Didn't mean what? Didn't mean to destroy everything we built? Our family? Our kids' stability? What exactly didn't you mean, Sarah? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Here came the waterworks. I'd seen her use tears to manipulate situations before, but never with me. Never like this. Jake, please, she said, her voice breaking. I made a mistake. I got caught up in something I shouldn't have. But it's over now. I can end it. We can work through this. It's over now? I laughed bitterly. You were just with him for 4 days. You're still wearing the perfume you wore for him. When exactly did you decide it was over? I mean, it can be over. I choose you. I choose our family. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. You read about my betrayal and hurt in those emails an hour ago, and you want to make this decision right now? After lying to my face for 6 months? After spending thousands of our money on hotels and lingerie, and God knows what else for him? That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Do you know what this week has been like for me? Knowing where you were, who you were with, what you were doing. Having to smile and take care of our kids and pretend everything was fine while you were with him? Do you have any idea what you've done? The tears were streaming down her face now. I'm sorry. Jake, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened. We were working late one night, and... Stop. I don't want to hear the story of how your affair started. I don't want to hear any more lies. They're not lies. I'm trying to be honest with you. Honest. You've been lying to me every single day for 6 months. You looked me in the eye and lied. You told me I was paranoid, that I was being insecure, that I needed to give you space. You gaslit me while you were having an affair. She wiped her eyes, and I saw her expression change again. The tears stopped as quickly as they'd started. Now she looked angry. You know what, Jake? Maybe I did need space. Maybe I needed to feel wanted by someone. Because you certainly don't make me feel that way. There it was. The real Sarah. Not the apologetic, remorseful wife. The one who blamed me for her choices. So we're back to this being my fault, I said coldly. Let me ask you something, Sarah. Did you ever think about counseling? Did you ever think about actually talking to me about your needs? Or did you just skip straight to having sex with Brad because that was easier? I tried talking to you. Multiple times. You never listened. That's garbage and you know it. You picked fights, then used those fights as justification for your affair. You're rewriting history to make yourself feel better about what you did. She shook her head. I can't do this right now. I just got home. I'm exhausted. You're exhausted? From spending 4 days with your boyfriend? He's not my boyfriend. It's complicated. It's really not complicated at all. You made vows to me. You broke them. You lied repeatedly. You betrayed our family. There's nothing complicated about it. So what? You're going to leave me? Break up our family over this? She was trying to flip it. Make me the bad guy for reacting to her infidelity. You broke up our family the moment you got into bed with him. I'm just dealing with the aftermath. She went very still. What are you saying? I'm saying I've already talked to a lawyer. I'm saying I have copies of everything. I'm saying this marriage is over. Her eyes went wide. You can't be serious. You talked to a lawyer before even confronting me? You had an affair for 6 months before talking to me about whatever problems you think we had. Don't lecture me about timing. Jake, please. Think about Emma and Noah. Think about what a divorce will do to them. And there it was, using our kids as shields. I have thought about them. I've thought about them growing up in a house where their mother lies and cheats, and their father swallows it because he's too afraid to disrupt their lives. That's not the example I want to set. You're being dramatic, Sarah said, her voice turning cold. Lots of couples get past affairs. This doesn't have to end our marriage. It already has ended it. You ended it when you chose him over us. Over and over again. For 6 months, you chose him. I never chose him over you. It was just physical. It didn't mean anything. You told him you loved him. I read those emails, remember? You said being with him made you feel alive again. That sounds like more than physical to me. She looked trapped, realizing I had evidence of everything she'd said. I was caught up in the moment. People say things during affairs that they don't mean. Stop calling it an affair. Call it what it is. You had a relationship with another man while married to me. You lied to my face every single day. You spent our money on him. You texted him while sitting next to me on the couch. You probably thought about him while having sex with me. She flinched at that. Bingo. That's exactly what she'd been doing. I want you to leave, I said quietly. Pack a bag and go stay somewhere else. We can figure out the logistics later, but I can't look at you right now. This is my house too. You can't kick me out. Watch me. Either you leave voluntarily, or I tell Emma and Noah why mommy has to go away for a while. Your choice. Her face went white. You wouldn't. Try me, Sarah. I'm done with your manipulations. I'm done with your lies. Get out of my house. We stood there in a stalemate, the kitchen silent except for the sound of the TV in the next room. Finally, she said, fine. I'll go stay with Jessica. But this isn't over, Jake. We need to talk about this rationally when you've calmed down. I am calm. That's what you don't get. I'm not making this decision out of anger. I'm making it because I finally see you clearly for the first time in years. She left the kitchen and went upstairs. I heard her moving around in our bedroom, packing. The kids didn't notice anything wrong when she came down with an overnight bag 15 minutes later. Sarah kissed Emma and Noah goodbye, told them mommy had to go help Aunt Jessica with something and would be back soon. Emma asked when, and Sarah said probably the next day. Another lie to add to the mountain. After she left, I sat down on the couch between my kids, trying to process what had just happened. Emma looked up at me. Daddy, why were you and mommy yelling? My heart sank. They'd heard. We were just having a disagreement, sweetheart. Sometimes adults argue. It's okay. Are you mad at mommy? I didn't know how to answer that. It's complicated. But Daddy loves you and Noah very much, and that will never change. Okay. She nodded and went back to her show, but I could tell she was worried. Kids always know when something's wrong. That night, after I put them to bed, Sarah started texting me. First, she was apologetic. Jake, I'm so sorry. Please let's talk about this. Then angry. You're overreacting. This is insane. then manipulative. Think about what you're doing to our children. Then desperate. I love you. I made a mistake. Please give me another chance. I didn't respond to any of them. David had told me to keep communication minimal and through text only, so there was a record. The next morning, Saturday, Matt came over. He brought coffee and breakfast sandwiches. The kids were excited to see Uncle Matt. He played with them while I sat numbly on the couch. How are you holding up? He asked later when the kids were occupied. I feel nothing, I said honestly. I thought I'd be more angry or sad, but I just feel empty. That's shock. It'll hit you eventually. Have you told anyone else? Not yet. I don't even know how to explain this. What about Sarah's parents? Do they know? I shook my head. I'm sure she's spinning some story to them right now about how I'm being unreasonable. I was right about Sarah spinning stories. By Sunday, I started getting texts from her mother. Jake, Sarah told me you two are having problems. I'm sure you can work through this. Marriage takes effort from both sides. The implication being that I wasn't putting in effort. Sarah had clearly left out the part about her 6-month affair. I called Sarah's mom, Linda, and told her the truth. Linda, I need you to know what's really happening. Sarah has been having an affair with a coworker for 6 months. I found explicit emails and photos. She lied about business trips to be with him. I'm not leaving her because we're having problems. I'm leaving her because she destroyed our marriage. There was silence on the other end. Then Linda said, that can't be right. Sarah wouldn't do that. I have proof. Hundreds of emails. Photos. Hotel receipts. She admitted it when I confronted her. More silence. Then, Jake, I don't know what to say. Are you sure you're not misunderstanding? Even her own mother's first instinct was to defend her. I'm not misunderstanding anything. Ask Sarah to tell you the truth. Ask her about Brad Mitchell. After I hung up, I felt sick. I realized I was going to have this conversation over and over. With friends, with family, with eventually Emma and Noah when they were old enough to understand. On Monday, I took the kids to school and went to work. I'd taken the previous week off, telling my boss I had a family emergency, which was true, just not the kind he probably imagined. At lunch, I got a call from an unknown number. Mr. Jake Anderson, a woman's voice said. Yes. This is Kelly Mitchell. I'm Brad's wife. I think we need to talk. My stomach dropped. How did you get my number? I found it the same way you probably found out about Brad and your wife. I went through his phone last night. I saw everything. Kelly and I agreed to meet at a coffee shop that evening. I had Matt watch the kids. When I walked in, I recognized her immediately from the Christmas party. She looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. We sat down, and for a moment neither of us spoke. Then she said, How long have you known? Since Tuesday. I found Sarah's emails by accident. I've suspected for months, Kelly said. Brad has been different. Distant. Always on his phone. Working late. The classic signs, right? But I trusted him. I believed his explanations. Until last night when I looked at his phone while he was sleeping. I'm sorry, I said. And I meant it. She was going through the same hell I was. Don't be. I'm glad I finally know the truth. She paused. Did you know Brad's been talking about leaving me? He told Sarah he was going to file for divorce so they could be together. That was news to me. My stomach churned. Sarah didn't mention that. She told me it was just physical, that it didn't mean anything. Kelly laughed bitterly. They're both liars. Brad told me he loved me last week, while planning his next trip with your wife. She pulled out her phone. I have screenshots too. I sent them to myself. I think we should share everything we have. The more evidence, the better for both our divorce cases. We spent the next hour comparing notes, sharing evidence, piecing together the timeline of the affair. It was worse than I'd thought. Brad and Sarah had been planning a future together. They'd talked about how much they'd get in their respective divorces, about getting an apartment together, about their kids eventually meeting. Our kids. They'd discussed how Emma, Noah, and Brad's 2 daughters would handle their parents getting together. Like it was inevitable. Like we were just obstacles to be managed. I confronted Brad this morning, Kelly said. He tried to deny it at first. Then he tried to blame me. Said I'd let myself go after having kids, that I didn't appreciate him. All the typical cheater excuses. I nodded. Sarah said similar things to me. That I stopped trying, that I was boring, that she felt trapped. It's never their fault, is it? Kelly said. It's always something we did or didn't do that forced them to cheat. We exchanged lawyer information and agreed to stay in touch. As I drove home, I realized something. Sarah wasn't just going to lose me. She was going to lose everything. Her affair partner's wife knew now. Soon, everyone at their office would know. Her reputation, her career, her family, all of it was about to come crashing down. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just nothing. The real story was only beginning. The workplace fallout started faster than I expected. On Tuesday, Kelly texted me. HR knows. He's being investigated. A couple hours later, my phone buzzed again. Your wife is in a closed-door meeting with HR and her boss. This is it. Sarah worked in a mid-sized marketing firm with pretty strict policies about interoffice relationships, especially between people in the same chain of command. Brad was technically on a higher level than her, often supervising joint projects. Their affair wasn't just immoral, it was a compliance nightmare. That evening, Sarah showed up at the house unannounced. I saw her car pull into the driveway and felt my stomach clench. I opened the door before she could ring the bell and stepped outside, closing it behind me so the kids wouldn't hear. She looked wrecked. Her eyes were puffy, her hair messy, her usual polished work look gone. You told Kelly? She said, her voice raw. I didn't tell Kelly anything, I said. She found out on her own, just like I did. She went to HR, Sarah said, almost spitting the words. Brad got suspended. They're reviewing everything. They pulled our emails. Do you have any idea what you've done? What I've done? I stared at her. You violated company policy for 6 months. You used work trips as cover for your affair. You jeopardized both your careers. You did that, Sarah, not me. They're talking about terminating both of us, she said, ignoring my point. Do you know what that means? My promotion is gone. My reputation is destroyed. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with your coworker. Her expression hardened. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching my life burn down. No, I'm just refusing to protect you from the consequences of your own choices anymore. She stared at me for a long moment. Can we at least talk inside? I want to see the kids. Not right now. We'll set up a schedule through the lawyers. I'm not doing this on your terms anymore. She laughed bitterly. Unbelievable. You're turning into such an asshole. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just finally done being your doormat. She left without another word. A week later, Sarah lost her job. She sent me a long, angry text. They fired me. For violation of company policy and professional misconduct. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is? Then another. Brad only got a demotion and final warning. Of course, men always bounce back. Kelly later confirmed what happened from Brad's side. HR had records showing Sarah initiated a lot of the inappropriate communication from her work email and that she'd booked travel through company systems under false client pretenses. Brad, on the other hand, had seniority and a long track record, so they salvaged what they could with him. Sarah tried to spin it differently to her parents and friends. I started hearing that she was being punished more harshly because she's a woman, and that it was just an office romance that got out of hand. Nobody mentioned the husband and kids at home while that romance was going on. Financially, the impact was brutal for her. She'd been making good money, and she'd built her image around being the ambitious, successful marketing pro. Now she was unemployed, mid-divorce, and trying to maintain the lifestyle she'd grown used to. Meanwhile, my lawyer moved fast. We filed for divorce on grounds of adultery, attaching selected evidence. Emails, hotel receipts, statements showing she'd spent marital funds on trips that were clearly not work-related. Sarah reacted exactly how David predicted. First rage, you're trying to ruin me. Then bargaining. If you drop the adultery claim, we can handle this quietly. Then guilt-tripping. Do you really want your kids to grow up in a broken home because you couldn't forgive one mistake? I kept everything in writing, short and calm. This was not one mistake. This was a 6-month deliberate affair, funded with marital money, involving repeated lies. I am pursuing divorce. Her next tactic was to weaponize mutual friends. Some texted me with thinly veiled judgment, clearly repeating her narrative. Hey man, heard you're being pretty harsh. People make mistakes, you know. I replied only with, if you want to know what actually happened, I'm willing to show you. Most never followed up. Custody became the next battlefield. Sarah, suddenly in full mom mode, told her lawyer she wanted 50-50 custody at minimum and implied that I was emotionally unstable after the discovery. She even suggested I might badmouth her to the kids, which, unlike her, I had been extremely careful not to do. David was ready. We presented my schedule: consistent work hours, stable income, no overnights away except rarely. Then Sarah's frequent work trips over the last 6 months, many of which were now known to be affair trips, and recent job loss due to misconduct. In mediation, Sarah tried to play the victim. "I made a mistake, but I'm still a good mother," she said, voice trembling. "The kids need both parents." "No one is saying otherwise," David replied evenly. "But stability matters. Mr. Anderson has been the primary caregiver for most evenings and overnights for the past year, while Ms. Anderson was traveling. That pattern should be reflected in the custody arrangement." She shot me a look full of pure hatred. It wasn't about the kids, it was about control. Losing control over the narrative, over me, over her image. The mediator suggested 60-40 in my favor, with Sarah having alternating weekends and one evening a week. Sarah bristled. "That's not enough. I didn't abandon my children." "Physically, no," I said quietly. "But you chose other priorities." Repeatedly. The mediator gently steered us back, but the message was clear. Her affair didn't just wreck the marriage. It fundamentally changed how the court viewed her judgment. At the same time, Sarah's carefully curated social circle started to crack. Word got around, not because I blasted it, but because people talk. Someone at her old office leaked the real story, and suddenly the Instagram comments on her old "boss babe" posts dried up. Linda, her mom, called me again. This time she sounded defeated. She admitted it, she said. "Everything. I'm so sorry, Jake. I keep thinking about those kids." "Emma and Noah will be okay," I said. "That's my main job now." "What about Sarah?" her mother asked. "Her consequences are hers," I answered. "They stopped being my responsibility the moment she chose Brad over us." The final nail in the soulmate fantasy coffin came from Brad himself. Kelly called one night, almost amused. "You'll want to hear this," she said. Brad, now demoted and on thin ice at work, had started distancing himself from Sarah. Fewer texts, fewer calls, more "I'm busy" messages. According to Kelly, he told a mutual friend, "I can't keep this up. It's costing me too much. I need to focus on my family and career." So the man who had sworn in emails that he'd give up everything for Sarah suddenly discovered he liked his salary and reputation more. Sarah found out gradually. First, he postponed a planned weekend together. Then he forgot to reply to a couple of her emotional messages. Finally, in a call she recorded and later bitterly described to a mutual friend who sent me the gist, he said, "We need to be realistic. Our situation is too messy. Maybe it's better if we take a break." She'd blown up her marriage, her job, and her image for a guy who was ultimately just hedging his bets. One evening, she came by for her scheduled time with the kids looking especially hollow. After they ran inside ahead of her, she lingered on the porch. "Brad and I aren't seeing each other anymore," she said abruptly. I just nodded, not surprised. "Is that what you wanted? For me to lose everything?" she asked. "What I wanted was a faithful wife and an intact family," I said. "You chose something else." She swallowed hard. "You have no idea how alone I feel right now." "I did," I said. "On the days when you were on business trips and I had to put our kids to bed alone while wondering if I was crazy for sensing something was wrong." For a moment, the mask slipped. She looked genuinely broken, like she was finally seeing the full picture. No husband, no affair partner, no job, a damaged relationship with her kids, and a shredded reputation. "Do you hate me?" she asked quietly. "I don't have the energy to hate you," I said. "I just don't know you anymore. And I can't trust you. Ever." That, more than anything, seemed to hit her. The divorce was finalized 8 months after I found that first email. In the decree, I kept the house, primary custody, and the majority of our shared savings. The court took into account her dissipation of marital assets on the affair and her unstable employment situation. Sarah moved into a small apartment across town. She went from posting pictures of conference stages and rooftop bars to nothing but occasional filtered photos with the kids on her weekends. The comments shifted from "You're killing it, Queen" to "Stay strong," and then, eventually, silence. Brad stayed with Kelly, for now. She made it clear she wasn't forgiving, just choosing to keep the family together under strict conditions: therapy, monitoring, and a very thin layer of trust. His demotion stuck, and he became a cautionary tale at work. As for Sarah's karma, it wasn't some dramatic car crash or instant cosmic lightning strike. It was slower and uglier. She lost the career identity she was so proud of. No reputable firm in their industry wanted to hire someone fired for misconduct tied to a workplace affair. She lost the man she'd risked everything for when he decided the fallout wasn't worth it. She lost financial security, going from dual-income comfort to scraping by on a reduced salary and paying child support on top of it. She lost the narrative. People knew. Some stopped inviting her to things. Others stayed polite but distant. The bubbly, ambitious Sarah became the one who blew up her life for an office fling. Most painfully, she lost the unquestioned love of her kids. Emma started asking hard questions. Why don't you live with us anymore? Why were you and Daddy fighting? One day, after a tense drop-off, I overheard Emma say to her, "Daddy never lies to me." That one cut her to the bone. As for me, the emotional journey was rough. Shock, rage, depression, numbness, every phase hit in waves. Therapy helped. So did focusing on the kids and rebuilding routines without Sarah's drama hanging over everything. Over time, the anger faded into something else, clarity. The person I thought I married didn't exist anymore, if she ever did. In her place was someone who valued validation over integrity, secrecy over honesty, and short-term excitement over long-term trust. If there's any advice in this mess, it's this. Trust your gut, but verify before you act. Document everything when betrayal is involved. Emotions fade, but evidence protects you. Don't set yourself on fire to keep a partner warm who wouldn't do the same for you. And most importantly, your self-respect matters more than saving face or keeping up appearances for others. The cheater did get what she deserved, if that word even applies. Job gone, reputation wrecked, relationship ended, and a lifetime of knowing she was the architect of her own collapse. The real karma, though, is that she has to wake up every day and live with the knowledge that she traded a family that truly loved her for a fantasy that bailed the moment it got hard.